How's it going, everybody? I'm going to show you today how to change the battery inside of a Game Boy Advance cartridge. I have a couple of these cartridges myself, and I have a friend that actually wanted this done for me, or that actually wanted me to do this for him, sorry, that he needed the battery changed out in his cartridges. I've already done this to one of mine, so he asked me to do it for his so that maybe we could play again together, and well, we'll just get into it. So anyway, this is his cartridge, Pokemon Ruby. As you can see, it's quite well loved. The label is coming off there. The battery has died in that. Just to show you here, pull out my handy dandy Game Boy Advance. I have better Game Boys than this, but the Advance is the best way to show you this. Get through the start screens here. Alright, there's the main menu. Alright, there you can see the internal battery has run dry. The game can be played. However, clock-based events will no longer occur. That's the message that you get when you know your battery has died. Basically, weather events and the berry trees won't grow, and there's certain Pokemon that only show up at certain times of day, and you can't do any of that stuff because the batteries run dry. So we need to change the battery in order to make all those things work properly again. So, a few things you're going to need in order to do this. Obviously, you're going to need a Pokemon cartridge, or any Game Boy Advance cartridge that has a battery. You can do this with any of them. You're going to need a machine that will work on it, which, like I said, Game Boy Advance. And you will need a special Y-shaped screwdriver bit tip. A little hard to see there. There we go. Looks like it's focusing up. Yep, Y-shaped tip, because there is a Y-shaped screw on the back of the cartridge that you're going to need to open that up. I was able to buy this tip in this kit for about $4 on the internet. Normally these come from overseas, like Hong Kong or Taiwan. If you decide to buy one from one of those vendors, you're going to have to wait about 6 weeks in order to get the kit just for this tip. All these other tips, I can buy these at any hardware store, but this particular one doesn't come in those kits. So I had to buy this kit, and I got lucky. I actually found a guy in the United States that bought a whole bunch of these and was selling them rather inexpensively. So I bought one of those from him, and it only took about a week to get to me. Maybe you'll have the same luck. I don't know if he's still selling them or not. I'm actually using a little bit different handle. The handle that came in the kit kind of sucks. This one actually has a little grip inside of it, so that when you put the tip in, it actually holds the tip. So make sure you got a nice solid handle that'll, hold on to your tip. You don't want it falling out while you're trying to work. So you will also need a soldering iron. I already got this one warmed up, but you can see that I've got the pointed tip on the end. You won't need anything else other than that. There's dozens of different models of soldering irons that you can buy. Some of them have removable tips, some of them don't. This particular model does. There's spreader tips and all kinds of other stuff. You won't need any of that. Just get one that's got the little pointed tip on there and you'll be fine. Also, since we're soldering, you will need solder. That's this little wire here. As you can see, that is 6040 rosin core solder. Bought that at Radio Shack. And it is light duty, as you see there. You can buy this for a couple of bucks. Doesn't cost much. Make sure you get the 6040 rosin core. This is for electronics. There are other solders that are for other jobs. Don't buy those. Make sure you buy this. I don't know if Radio Shack's carrying this particular kind anymore. I bought this a couple years ago. I haven't really used a whole lot of it because it doesn't really take a whole lot. So hopefully this will last me for quite some time. You will also need to buy a tabbed battery. You have to buy these batteries with the tabs. If you don't get them with the tabs, you're not going to be able to use them. You can't just go to Walmart and buy a standard coin battery. This is a coin battery with tabs on it. You can't just buy these off the shelf at Walmart. It has to have the tabs on it because of the way the circuit board is designed. So this particular one has the tabs bent a particular way. As you can see, that one's straight right there, and that one is bent. Problem is, they're bent backwards. So you will need needle nose pliers. Now what I've done is I've taken one of the good batteries, and I have bent it different directions so you can see side by side here. There it is right there, and you can see I've bent them differently. That one is straight and that one is not straight anymore. So all of these batteries have a positive and a negative side. This particular one's not marked negative, but that is the negative side and that is the positive side. You can see by the big plus there. And this is a CR1616 lithium cell battery with tabs. I bought these also on the internet. Got those from a guy in the United States as well. Don't know where he got them from. Don't care. But I got this big package of batteries here. Bought these for, I think I bought these for about 15 bucks. And there was 20 in the package. And he was also a United States vendor, so it didn't take me long to get these. But like I said, make sure you get the CR1616 with tabs. And there are replacement numbers for the CR1616. You can just make sure you get the CR1616 though. There's other numbers, but if you got those, you know you got the right one. So put the new one aside here because we don't want to get that one mixed up with our bent one. And let's see, what else did we need? Oh, and we also need Q-tip. And I don't have rubbing alcohol in my house. I don't know why. I've always had rubbing alcohol in my house, and for whatever reason, I don't have a bottle of it. So today I'm just going to squeeze the alcohol out of a first aid alcohol pad onto the Q-tip because I need some alcohol to do something. So we'll put that aside. Anyway, let's get to it here. So we have our cartridge. We have our screwdriver. I'm going to take that little screw off. You're going to be very careful not to lose the screw. You want to push nice and hard because this screwdriver is a little large, but it was the only size that I could find at all. So make sure you push good and hard so you don't strip out the screw. You don't want to do that. And then make sure you grab the screw tightly. I know it's kind of hard to see, my hands are in the way. Make sure you grab the screw as it's coming out of that hole there. There's a screw. There it is. We're going to drop that in our toolkit so we know where it's at and doesn't fall off the counter or anything. Okay, now with the Game Boy Advance cartridge, in order to get them open, it slides. There's no like clips or anything inside of it. It just slides. So the back goes up and the front goes down. So we just go fwink like that. Take the top off. And yes, fwink is a word. So there's our circuit board. And as you can see, there's a little bit of dirt on there because, like I said, this cartridge has been loved. So, and one thing I want to mention before you do any kind of electronics work, you should wash your hands. I did before I started doing this video. Because you have dirt and oil and all kinds of crap all over your hands, and even if you think, hey, you know, my hands are pretty clean, they're probably not. Always wash your hands before you start something like this because you don't want to get more stuff on the board than what is already on there, of course, you see, and you don't want to mess up any of your contacts or anything. So you can wear surgical gloves or white cotton gloves just to be safer. It's not really necessary if you're careful. I'm a pretty careful person usually, so I'm not too concerned about getting more dirt on the circuit board than it already is. It's been in my friend's pocket, so he gets dirt on it just from having it in his pocket in the first place. So anyway, we're going to pop this circuit board out. It's not hooked in anyway, so you can just drop it in your hand really. But as you can see, there's a little bit of dirt right there on the corner. So what we're going to do is we are going to move all this stuff out of the way. Take our Q-tip and our alcohol pad here. We're going to squeeze a little bit of alcohol out onto the Q-tip. Doesn't take a whole lot, couple drops tops. There we go. Nice and wet there. And then we're just going to gently, there we go, gently rub all that crap off of there. See that? You can see it already coming off. And this is completely safe to do. Most of the time when you buy cleaning solutions at the store, that's all it is. It's just an alcohol solution. So you can use standard rubbing alcohol that you buy in a pharmacy. Just put a little dab on your Q-tip and Just kind of gently rub, and you'll get all that dirt off there. So, and we're only doing this because, hey, we got the cartridge open. This will help the cartridge play a little bit better when we get it put back together. So while we've got it open, let's just take care of this little bit of maintenance, and we won't have to worry about it later on. And this is something you can do while the cartridge or while the circuit board is still inside the cartridge too. It's just a little bit harder because then you have to cram the Q-tip in the end of the cartridge, and yeah, that's just no fun to do. So there we go. That's pretty clean. All right, that's pretty good. Anyway, so let's get back to it. Here comes the important part now. So this is the original Nintendo battery. It's a little bit hard to see, but there's some negative symbols on there showing that this is the negative side that is up. So you want to make sure you get these repositioned properly when you put the new battery in there, so that negatives on the one side, positives on the other. So since we know that this is our battery, obviously we're going to have to flip it over, and as you see, that's going that direction. The positive side, which is here, is coming this direction, so this is the way we want to put that on. So you want to make sure you bend these tabs the proper direction to get them back on the same terminals that they were originally, so you don't mess that up. Okay, now here comes the hardest part, the desoldering of the old battery and the resoldering of the new one. Part of the reason why I say this is hard is because I'm going to have to do it really close to the camera. It's easier to do it on the table, but I'm going to try to do my best to do it right up against the camera here. So tip is nice and hot. I've had it plugged in here for quite some time, so, and I think I just actually burned my skin in there a little bit. Anyway, okay, so you just want to very lightly touch, kind of scrape a little bit, just to kind of liquefy that solder. And while you're doing that, put your fingernail underneath it, and you should be able to, I didn't pull it up far enough. You don't want to press hard because then you'll burn the circuit board. You don't want to do that. I gotta do it again. I didn't quite, there we go. Now it's broken. Now you see, right there, see I've broken the connection. So now we're going to go to the other side here. That one. You just kind of scrape just a little bit, just tap it. Doesn't take much. And while you're doing that, put your fingernail on it. Just kind of twist it off. You only have two hands, so you just got to do what you can do. You're gonna have to, and it's gonna keep drying and reheating, or as you're heating it, it's gonna keep re-drying back to the circuit board, so you're just going to have to keep touching it and keep liquefying the old solder to get that off there. So now you see we removed our battery. And there's our old one. A little bit of solder left over from the previous operation. Actually, I think I might have even melted off one of the tabs, I'm not sure. Anyway, so now we take the circuit board here, and we just want to kind of spread that old solder around a little bit. See it kind of melting up there a little bit, and it just liquefies, and you can just, now some people will tell you it's a good idea to take the old solder off. In some cases I agree. In this particular case, because of the way these are designed, you might actually want to keep that on, because these tabbed batteries are a pain in the tuchus. And yes, tuchus is a real word too, go look it up. Anyway, so originally we said that the battery was on like that, with the negative going that way and the positive going this way. So we're going to look at our battery again just to make sure we got it right. Negative is on top, positive is on the bottom. So we're going to flip it over. Negative is now going this way, positive is going that way. So that is the proper way, just like that. Like that. There we go. So that new battery is going to go on just like that. I'm holding it in place, obviously, because it's not connected. Now I'm going to have to zoom in a little bit, because we're going to have to go down to the table level. Alrighty. this is going to be the hard part because I need both of my hands free for what I'm about to do, which is right there. Which is, I have to hold the solder in one hand. There's my solder again. Solder. Okay. I'm going to have to touch the tabs with the solder. So I'm going to look away for a second from the screen to make sure that I'm in the right position. Hopefully I won't get my head in the way and you'll be able to see this. Okay. Put that right there. Move the camera over so you can see what I'm doing. Oop, too much. Move, camera. Oh, tighten up there a little bit. Put you right there. Okay, I'm going to try not to move the circuit board around so you can actually see what I'm doing here. But what we're going to do is we're going to just... You're going to want to keep the soldering iron close to the tab. And you want to touch the new solder, the fresh solder on the roll, to the spot where you're trying to melt it. And you're going to see some smoke. That's normal. That's just this new solder melting into place. And you want to keep it there because it's gotta melt. You don't want to use a whole lot either. If you use too much, it'll be all bulky and really difficult to work with. You want to make sure you get that old solder underneath locked into place as well. Okay, hold on a second. I need to get this. I know it's kind of hard to see. I got my hand in the way. Give me a second here, and I will show you what I'm doing. I'm just trying to make sure that solder is good and warm so it stays liquefied. You want to keep it liquefied. Like I said, it doesn't take a whole lot. It just takes. There we go. No, stay in place. There we go. Okay. A little bit difficult to see there. Oh, get you right there. There we go. Right there. That is my new bead of solder. As you can see, as I was doing it, I accidentally moved that tab over, so we're going to have to kind of bend the tab back over to where we want it. So, oh, and by the way, most soldering irons come with this handy-dandy little stand, so you can keep the tip hot, but you can keep it off of your counter space, so you don't want to burn your counter. So, put that on my stand here. If it will stay on the stand without tipping over. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Alright, so we got to bend that back over to where we want it. Don't worry about bending the tab because, hey, that's what they're meant to do. Alrighty. Okay, and I'm going to have to hold this. I should be able to get it into place. Yeah. This one's being a little bit more difficult than the one I did for myself. Okay, there it goes. So right there. We're going to turn that a little bit this way so hopefully you can see that. There we go. Okay. Now, we're going to do the same thing we did on the other side. A little bit of solder there, soldering iron, a little bead of solder. Okay, so we're going to go down and we're going to melt the existing solder. I got to tell you, this is really hard to do so that you guys can see it and so it gets done properly. Because it's hard for me to do it on camera and get it done properly. But we'll do our best. Melt some solder into place. There we go. Should be it. Remember, you don't want to press too hard because if you press too hard, you're going to go right into that circuit board and then you're going to burn it out and then the whole thing's not going to work. So just be really careful not to touch the circuit board if you can. And if you do, just make it for, you know, a fraction of a second. And that should be, that's in place. Where's the camera? Right over there. There we go. Focus in. Okay, so you can see my two new beads of solder there and there. And the battery is in place. This is the negative side. Positive side, of course, is underneath, touching the chip. That was underneath it before. So now we are where we need to be. So let's get our case back together. Here's our case. So you got this little hole in the back. You're just gonna slide circuit board in there and it'll just hang in place. There's two little notches on either side that'll hold it in place, and then that little hole up there is where the screw goes. So then you clip that back together, slide it up, clip that, come on, clip that back together. Alright, I think the new battery is pushed up a little bit, so I'm going to have to kind of squeeze it together. Alright, give me a second here. The new battery is kind of obstructing opening and closing it. I'm going to have to kind of push the new battery down a little bit in order to get it in place. The last one I did didn't have this problem. That battery's got to be flat. Make sure it's not pushing up on either side. Once you have it soldered down, you can just kind of give it a good shove with your thumb and it should go into place. And it's still connected to the board, so we're still good. Alright, so put the case back on. There we go. We're back together. So flip it over. Grab our screw, which we've kept secured in our toolbox. Oh, right there. Screw that we've kept secured in our toolbox. Very carefully put that back into, come on, go back in there. There we go. Give it a little bit of effort so it goes down in there properly. Don't torque it too much or else the whole thing will fall apart. Just kind of recess it a little bit and it'll be fine. Alright, so now we pull out our handy dandy Game Boy again. Oops. Helps if I put the cartridge in the proper way. I'm going to go wide again here. Wide screen. Okay, there we go. Get this crap out of the way. Okay, so game is back in. Let's make sure that okay, we're good. Hopefully you can see that. You can see my camera in the background. Alright, turn the bright on so you can see it. Alright, so there's the loading screen. Now remember, the last time I turned this on, as soon as I hit start, it said the internal battery had run dry, and that's why we can't play the time-based events. So if I hit it again, I shouldn't see that message if I've done everything properly. So, and there we go. Now we're on the main menu, and my friend Joe there has got his cartridge back with a brand new fresh battery, so he'll never see that little message again, and he'll be able to do all of his time-based events. So really very simple. If you have any other questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. Hopefully I've made everything clear enough in this video, and hopefully I haven't been too long-winded about it. But yeah, there you go. Have a good day, and thanks a lot.